I am the rich man's guru. Because the poor have no time for meditation, they only have time for bread. I have no message for you. I am here only to disturb you, to wake you up from your comfortable nightmares. The world believes in poverty. I believe in abundance. If I have 93 Rolls Royces, it is to show you that your holiness is just a mask for your misery. Tomorrow is a lie. If you are waiting for the next life to be happy, you are already dead. I am not a religious man. I am the beginning of a totally new consciousness that you are too afraid to embrace. Hello, my beloveds. It is a joy to see you here. Not because I want to be your leader, but because we are fellow travelers on a path that has no end. You have come today with a question that the world has been screaming for decades. Who is Osho? Is he a spiritual master, a light in the darkness of human unconsciousness, or is he a dangerous fraud, a con man in silk robes, a Rolls-Royce guru who hypnotized thousands? Before we dive into this mystery, I have a small request for those of you who feel the pulse of this rebellion. If you feel that this journey we are embarking on touches something deep within you, hit that subscribe button. It is not for my ego, I have none, but so that this flame of awareness can reach more hearts. And if you find value in these words, as we move along, a like is a simple way to tell the universe that you are listening. People have always been obsessed with labels. They feel safe when they can put me in a box. He is a cult leader, says one. He is a genius, says another. But I tell you, I am none of these, and I am all of these. I am a mirror. When you look at me, you don't see me. You see your own face. If you are a thief, you will see a master thief in me. If you are a lover, you will see the ultimate beloved. If you are a fraud, you will perceive a grand deception. The fraud you see is your own inner dishonesty projected onto me. I am simply an empty mirror, reflecting back to you your own prejudices, your own fears, and your own hidden beauty. Throughout this long conversation we are going to have, I will take you behind the curtains of the legend. We will talk about the 93 Rolls Royces, the accusations of the politicians, the labels of sex guru, and the reality of the Oregon desert. But first, you must understand the spirit of the rebel. A master is not someone who gives you a map. A master is someone who burns your map so that you are forced to find your own way. I remember my childhood in Kuchwada. I was born into a world of traditions, a world of shoulds and shouldn'ts. But from the very beginning, I was a nuisance to the priests and the teachers. Why? Because I asked why. They wanted me to believe, and I wanted to know. Belief is a cover up for ignorance. If you know, you don't need to believe. Do you believe in the sun? No, you know it is there. I have spent my whole life trying to destroy belief systems, because only when the debris of the old is cleared can the new man be born. If you feel like you are one of those new people and want to support the creation of these deep explorations, you can check out the join button on this channel. Becoming a member is a way to help us keep this radical honesty alive without the interference of the marketplace. For those who want to give a more personal gift of gratitude, the super thanks is always there as a beautiful gesture. They call me the spiritually incorrect mystic. I love that title. To be spiritually correct means to follow the dead rituals of the past, to bow down to the statues, to fast until your body is withered, and to deny the joys of life. I am here to tell you that life is not a penance, it is a celebration. The fraud that the world sees is often just my refusal to be a martyr. The world loves its saints to be poor, miserable, and dying of hunger. They want a saint who looks like he belongs in a graveyard. I chose to live in a palace. I chose to drive the finest cars. I chose to surround myself with beauty. And this offended the holy people. Why? Because their holiness is based on poverty. My holiness is based on abundance. If you are curious about how to integrate this abundance into your own life, I have prepared several ebooks that go deeper into these techniques. You can find the links in the description. These are not just books, they are invitations to a different way of being. Think about it. Why does it bother you if a mystic has 93 Rolls Royces? If I had 93 camels, nobody would care. If I had 93 donkeys, the world would think I am humble. But 93 Rolls Royces, that hits the ego of the world. It exposes the hidden greed of the common man. I was not collecting cars. I was collecting your reactions. Each car was a Zen koan, a puzzle for your mind to break against. Let's talk about the con man label. People say I had deceived my followers. But how can you deceive someone who has nothing to lose? My sannyasins did not come to me for money or for a place in heaven. They came to me to lose their egos. And I am a master at helping you lose that which you never had. If that is a con, then it is the most beautiful con in history. I am taking away your misery and giving you nothing in return except your own self. Many of you ask me in the comments, and please do leave your thoughts below. I read the vibrations of your words. Osho, how can we be sure you are not just playing with us? My answer is, I am playing with you. Life is a play, a leela. The moment you take life seriously, you miss the point. Serious people are ill people. They are the ones who create wars, who create religions, who create boundaries. I am here to teach you how to laugh again. A laughter that comes from the belly, a laughter that has no reason. If you've ever felt that burst of unexplained joy while watching these videos, perhaps you'd like to share this video with a friend who is also tired of the serious world. Sharing is an act of love, a way to spread the fragrance. As a young student and later as a professor, I was always looking for the deathless. I saw death early on. My grandfather, who I loved dearly, died when I was just a child. That silence, that sudden disappearance of a living being shook me to my core. It made me realize that if death is the end, then life is a joke. I had to find if there was something that did not die. I sharpened my sword of awareness through years of silence, through years of doing nothing. People think meditation is a difficult thing, something you do sitting in a cave. I say meditation is simply being aware of your own thoughts, your own breathing, your own actions. You can be a meditator while driving a car, even a Rolls Royce, especially a Rolls Royce. It is easier to meditate in a comfortable car than on a thorny path. This was my crime. I made meditation luxurious. I told the world that you don't have to be a beggar to find God. In fact, The beggar is too busy thinking about bread to think about God. Only when you are satiated, when you have seen the futility of wealth, can you truly ask the ultimate questions. Before we move into the next part of our journey, where I will explain exactly why I chose those cars and what happened in the silence of the Oregon desert, I want to invite you to take a moment. Breathe. Look at your own life. Are you living your truth? Or are you living the truth of your parents, your priests, and your politicians? If you are ready to drop the masks, stick with me. In the next section, we will confront the rich man's guru head on. We will talk about why the American government was so afraid of one man who never carried a weapon. And remember, if you want to be part of the inner circle that makes this content possible, check out that join button. Your support is the fuel for this fire. The fire of truth burns everything that is false. And the American government, along with every government in the world, is built on a foundation of lies. They were not afraid of my guns, I had none. They were not afraid of my soldiers, I had only lovers and meditators. They were afraid of a man who could look into their eyes and laugh. They were afraid of a man who showed the world that you do not need their religions or their laws to be blissful. When I went to the high desert of Oregon, I didn't go there to hide. I went there to build a city of the future, a place where people could live without the baggage of the past. But the world only saw the surface. They saw the 93 Rolls Royces. Why did I have those cars? Let me tell you a secret. I never used them. I never drove them. I sat in the back. The cars were for you, not for me. They were a provocation. I wanted to see the faces of the Christians who think poverty is a virtue. I wanted to see the faces of the communists who think equality means making everyone equally miserable. I wanted to see the faces of the moralists who think that a spiritual man should be a beggar. These cars were the ultimate Zen test. If you can be distracted from the truth by a piece of metal on 4 wheels, then your search for truth was never real in the first place. Your mind is still stuck in the marketplace. You think I am a fraud because I have what you secretly desire. If I were sitting on a heap of trash, you would call me a saint. But because I sit in a Rolls Royce, you call me a con man. Do you see the logic? You value the trash more than the car. But you value the car more than the consciousness that is sitting inside it. The rich man's guru. They used that label as an insult. I accepted it as a compliment. Only a rich man can be spiritual. Now don't misunderstand me. I don't mean just a man with money in his bank account. I mean a man who is satiated with the world. A man who has seen all that money can buy and has realized that it doesn't give him what he is looking for. A poor man is still hungry for bread. How can he think about meditation? How can he think about the ultimate? His stomach is screaming. He needs food first. Only when you are rich, when you are comfortable, when you are bored with your luxuries, does the real question arise, is this all? I have seen many saints in India who live in poverty. They are not spiritual, they are just hungry. Their minds are constantly thinking about when the next meal will come or who will give them a new blanket. Their renunciation is a facade. They are obsessed with money more than any businessman in Wall Street. The businessman at least works with it. The saint thinks about it 24 hours a day because he doesn't have it. I wanted to create a synthesis. I wanted my people to be rich outside and rich inside. I wanted them to have the best of both worlds. Why choose? Why can't you be a zorba? Living life to its fullest, drinking the wine, dancing the dance, and also be a Buddha, silent, witnessing, aware. This is my vision of the new man. But this vision is dangerous to the establishment. They want you to be a victim. They want you to be a slave to your desires or a slave to your guilt. I am here to take away both your desires and your guilt. And yes, they call me a con man. In a way, they were right. I am a con man of the soul. I am trying to con you out of your ego. The ego is the most precious thing you think you have. It is your identity, your name, your fame, your pride. You hold on to it as if your life depends on it. I have to be very clever to take it away from you. I have to create a circus. I have to tell jokes. I have to show you Rolls Royces. I have to make you laugh and cry so that for a moment you forget to protect your ego. In that one moment of forgetfulness, I can enter and plant the seed of awareness. It is a divine deception. I remember a man who came to me once, very angry. He said, "Osho, you are a fraud. You talk about meditation, but look at your watch. It is a diamond-encrusted Rolex." I looked at him and laughed. I said, "The watch doesn't know it has diamonds. And my wrist doesn't know it is wearing a Rolex. Only your mind knows. Why are you carrying my watch in your head? I am wearing it on my wrist, but you are carrying it in your heart. Who is the materialist here? This is the point. The world is so obsessed with the material that they cannot see the spiritual. They think the two are opposites. I say they are two sides of the same coin. If you deny the body, you cannot reach the soul. If you deny the world, you cannot reach God. The American experiment in Rajneeshpuram was a miracle that the world could not forgive. We took a wasteland, a place where nothing grew except sagebrush, and we turned it into a lush oasis. We built roads, dams, houses, and an airport. We did it without a single cent of government aid. We did it through love and meditation. But the neighbors, the bigoted Christians of the nearby town, were terrified. They didn't see the beauty, they saw a threat. They saw thousands of young, intelligent, happy people who were not going to church and who were not following their rules. The politicians saw something even more dangerous. They saw a community that was independent, a community that didn't need their politics. That is when the fraud narrative became a weapon. They didn't care if I was a master or a con man. They cared that I was a power they couldn't control. They tried to destroy the city, and eventually they did. They arrested me without a warrant. They poisoned me in their jails, slowly, with thallium, and they deported me. Why? Because they had no answer to my laughter. You see, the ego is very serious. It thrives on conflict, on misery, on struggle. When I tell you to celebrate, the ego feels threatened. When I say that you are already what you are seeking, the ego has no work to do. The ego wants to become something, a saint, a hero, a billionaire. I tell you, just be. There is nowhere to go and nothing to achieve. This is the ultimate fraud I commit on your mind. I tell you that the journey is the goal. People ask me, if you are not a fraud, why do you change your mind so often? One day you say this, the next day you say that. I tell them, I am not a person, I am a process. I am like a river. The water you see today is not the water you saw yesterday. I respond to the moment. I am not a philosopher who has a fixed system of thought. A system is dead. I am alive. If you want consistency, go to the graveyard. You will find very consistent people there. They haven't changed their minds in centuries. But if you want to be with me, you have to be ready for the unexpected. You have to be ready to have your foundations shaken. I am not here to give you a new religion. The world has too many religions and very little religiousness. Religion is an organization. Religiousness is a quality of the heart. Religion is about following. Religiousness is about exploring. I don't want you to follow me. I want you to be yourself. But to be yourself, you must first find out who you are not. You are not your name. You are not your nationality. You are not your religion. You are not your body. And you are not even your mind. You are the witness that sees all of these things. The conman story is a beautiful way for the world to avoid looking at its own emptiness. If they can convince themselves that I am a fraud, then they don't have to listen to me. They can go back to their miserable lives, their boring jobs, and their dead marriages and feel safe. But if I am right, if I am a master, then their whole way of life is a lie, and that is too much for them to handle. So they project their own dishonesty onto me. I don't mind. I have played my part well. I have been the mirror. I have shown the world its own face, and the world didn't like what it saw. It tried to break the mirror, but the mirror is not made of glass. It is made of consciousness. You can break a body, you can burn a city, but you cannot kill an idea whose time has come. And the time for the new man, for Zorba the Buddha, is coming. The journey we are taking together is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who are willing to lose everything to find themselves. It is for those who are tired of the labels, master or fraud, and want to know the truth for themselves. Don't believe me and don't disbelieve me. Just look. Observe your own mind. Why do you feel anger when you see someone happy? Why do you feel superior when you think you are spiritual? The world will continue to judge. That is its nature. But you, my beloveds, you must learn to live without judgment. You must learn to live in the suchness of things. If I am a fraud, I am a beautiful fraud. If I am a master, I am a master of the heart. But ultimately, names do not matter. What matters is the silence that is growing within you as you listen to these words. What matters is the light that is beginning to flicker in the dark corners of your soul. I remember my time in India, traveling from city to city, talking to thousands of people I was a professor then, but even then I was a rebel. I told the students that the education they were receiving was a way to kill their intelligence. They were being taught how to memorize, not how to think. They were being prepared to be cogs in the machine. My whole life has been an effort to sabotage that machine. Whether in India or America or anywhere else, the machine is the same. It wants you to be a part, not a whole. I want you to be a whole, a holy being. The royce Guru was just one chapter in this long story of sabotage. It was a way to say to the world, look, I can have everything you desire and still not be attached to it. If tomorrow all the cars disappear, I would not be less happy. If tomorrow I had to sit under a tree in the rain, I would be just as blissful. The cars were a luxury, but my bliss is a necessity. My bliss doesn't depend on the car, it doesn't depend on the house, it doesn't even depend on the body. They thought they could punish me by deporting me, by making me a man without a country. They didn't realize that the whole world is my home. Everywhere I went, my people were there. The fragrance of meditation cannot be stopped by borders or visas. They tried to silence the man, but they only made the message louder. The fraud became a legend, and the master became a movement. As we go deeper into this mystery, we will look at the accusations of sex guru. This is another label the world used to try to shame me. They are so repressed, so full of guilt about their own bodies, that when I spoke about the naturalness of sex, they were shocked. They thought I was teaching debauchery. I was teaching transcendence. But you cannot transcend something that you have suppressed. You can only transcend something that you have understood and lived fully. We will talk about the dynamic meditations, the screams, the dances, and the silences that happen in the halls of Pune and Oregon. We will look at why the priests were so afraid of a man who talked about love, because a man who knows love cannot be manipulated. A man who knows love is free, and the world doesn't want free men, it wants sheep. But before we get there, I want you to sit with what we have discussed. Look at your own life. Where are you being a fraud to yourself? Where are you wearing a mask to please others? Where are you hiding your light because you are afraid of the judgment of the world? I am a mirror, yes, but you are also a mirror. And it is time to look at what you are reflecting. The story of Osho is not my story. It is your story. It is the story of the human struggle between the old and the new, between the crowd and the individual, between the sleep and the awakening. Whether I am a master or a fraud depends entirely on your own level of consciousness. To the blind, I am darkness. To the seeing, I am light. To the dead, I am a ghost. To the living, I am life itself. The world is obsessed with sex because it is the most suppressed energy in human history. They call me the sex guru because I was the first person in centuries to speak the truth about it without any guilt, without any shame, and without any holy lies. But let me tell you, I have spoken about sex only to help you go beyond it. If you are stuck in the basement of a building, you cannot see the stars. I want you to go to the roof. But the priests and the moralists have locked the doors and told you that the basement is a sin. So you stay there, hiding in the dark, shivering with guilt, and you never reach the open sky. Why did the sex guru label stick to me like a shadow? Because the media is sensationalist and the public is voyeuristic. They didn't want to hear about meditation. They didn't want to hear about the silence of the soul. They wanted to hear about something that made them feel both excited and morally superior. By calling me a sex guru, they could satisfy their curiosity and judge me at the same time. It was a perfect arrangement for their egos. But the irony is that these very people who condemn me are the ones who are truly obsessed. A man who is hungry thinks about food. A man who is repressed thinks about sex. I am not repressed, and my people are not repressed. We are the only people who can actually forget about sex because we have accepted it as a natural part of life. I have heard a story. There was a great saint who lived in a cave for 30 years. He never looked at a woman. He never touched a woman. People thought he was a great celibate. But if you could look into his dreams, you would find only women. His mind was a continuous pornographic film. On the other hand, there is a man who lives a natural life, who loves, who shares his body with another in deep intimacy. His mind is clear. He doesn't need to dream about it because he is living it. Who is more pure? The saint who is mentally obsessed or the man who is physically satisfied. I choose the satisfied man, because only he can move to the next step. You see, energy is one. It is like electricity. You can use it to heat your room, or you can use it to cool your room. You can use it to light a bulb, or you can use it to kill a man in an electric chair. The energy is neutral. Sex is the lowest form of that energy, and samadhi, the ultimate enlightenment, is the highest form of that same energy. If you cut off the roots, the tree will die. If you condemn sex, you are condemning the very source of your life. Every cell in your body is sexual. You were born out of a sexual act. To deny sex is to deny your father, your mother, and your own existence. It is a form of slow suicide. But the priests love suicide. They love people who are half dead, because half dead people are easy to lead. A man who is full of life, a man who is vibrant with energy, a man who knows the joy of his own body, cannot be made a slave. He will not go to the temple to ask for a heaven after death, because he has already found heaven here and now. The whole strategy of the religions has been to make you miserable in this life, so that they can sell you a ticket to the next life. And the best way to make you miserable is to make you feel guilty about your natural instincts. I brought a revolution into the world of spirituality. I said, from sex to superconsciousness. I didn't say stay in sex. I said start with it, accept it, live it, understand it, and then you will find that the energy naturally begins to move upwards. When sex is no longer a hunger, it becomes a prayer. When two lovers are in deep silence, in a state of total let go, they catch a glimpse of the divine. For few seconds, the I disappears, time disappears, and there is only a vast emptiness. That emptiness is the door to the beyond. I am simply teaching you how to make that door permanent. This is where my active meditations come in. People ask Osho, why do we have to scream? Why do we have to jump? Why do we have to dance like madmen? I tell them, look at yourselves. You are already mad, but your madness is suppressed. You are sitting on a volcano. If I tell you to sit silently and watch your breath, you will only be watching your inner garbage. Your mind will be racing, your body will be twitching, and you will be in a state of inner torture. first you need a catharsis. You need to vomit out all the shoulds and shouldn'ts that have been forced into you. In the first stage of my dynamic meditation, you breathe chaotically. You break the pattern of your breathing. And when you break the pattern of your breathing, you break the pattern of your mind. In the second stage, you go totally mad. You scream, you shout, you cry, you jump. You act out all the things you wanted to do to your boss, to your spouse, to your priest, but didn't have the courage to do. You empty the basement. Only when the basement is empty can we talk about the third stage, where you hit the energy center at the base of your spine with the sound hu, hu, hu. This is how we move the energy from the sex center to the higher centers. The world called this a cult, and they called me a dangerous fraud because I was giving people back their freedom. A con man gives you false promises. I give you back your reality. I am not promising you a God in the sky. I am showing you the God that is sitting right inside you, waiting to be discovered. But that God is covered by layers of social conditioning. I am a surgeon. I have to cut through those layers, and surgery is often painful. People scream, they resist, they call the surgeon names. But if they stay on the operating table, they are healed. The sex guru label was also a way to distract people from the fact that I was destroying the foundations of their power. If you make people free from sexual guilt, you make them free from the church. If you make them free from fear, you make them free from the state. The politicians and the priests are in a conspiracy. The priest controls your soul through guilt, and the politician controls your body through fear. I am the common enemy of both because I am teaching you how to be an individual. An individual is neither a sheep in a flock nor a cog in a machine. An individual is a light unto himself. Think about the zorba part of my vision. Zorba the Greek is a man who loves the earth, who loves the wine, who loves the dance, who loves the woman. He is not afraid of life. He is not a spiritual person in the traditional sense, but he is more alive than any monk I have ever seen. However, Zorba is incomplete. He has the earth, but he doesn't have the sky. He has the body, but he doesn't have the soul. He is a beautiful animal, but he is not yet a divine being. Then there is the Buddha. The Buddha has the sky. He is silent. He is aware. He is enlightened. But the traditional Buddha has lost the earth. He is like a flower that has no roots. He is beautiful, but he is fragile and disconnected from the juice of life. He doesn't dance, he doesn't sing, he doesn't laugh. My vision is Zorba the Buddha. I want you to have the roots of Zorba and the wings of Buddha. I want you to be able to enjoy a good meal, a beautiful house, and the touch of a lover, and at the same time be able to sit in absolute silence alone and perfectly blissful. This synthesis is the only way for humanity to survive. If we stay only with Zorba, we will destroy the planet with our greed and our wars. If we stay only with Buddha, we will become a world of escapists and life deniers, leaving the world in the hands of the politicians. The fraud they see in me is actually this synthesis. They cannot understand how a man can be holy and yet live in luxury. They cannot understand how a man can be a master and yet talk about sex. They want their categories to remain separate. They want the holy to be poor and the sinful to be rich. I am confusing them. I am telling them that you can be both. In fact, you should be both. I remember when I was in Oregon, the local good Christians were horrified by our presence. They saw us as a threat to their values. What were those values? Boredom, repression, and hypocrisy. We were everything they were afraid to be. We were happy. We were singing. We were working together with love. We didn't have any crime. We didn't have any drugs. We didn't have any poverty. In our city, there was no mine and thine. We were living the true communal life. But to the outside world, we were a dangerous cult. They used the law to destroy us. But law has nothing to do with justice. Law is the tool of the powerful to maintain their power. They invented immigration fraud charges to arrest me. They claimed I was organizing same marriages for my followers. But in our community, marriage didn't mean anything anyway. We didn't believe in the legal contract of marriage. We believed in the commitment of love. If people wanted to live together, they lived together. If they wanted to move on, they moved on. We were not interested in their same marriages because we were not interested in their real marriages either. Their real marriages are the biggest shams on earth. Two people living together in misery because of a piece of paper. I was once asked by a journalist, Osho, do you consider yourself a savior? I laughed. I said, I am not even a leader. A savior is someone who carries you on his back. I am someone who kicks you so that you can stand on your own 2 feet. people don't like to be kicked. They prefer to be carried. It is much easier to be a follower. You don't have to take responsibility for your life. If things go wrong, you can blame the leader. If things go right, you can praise the leader. You remain a child your whole life. I am trying to make you grow up. And growing up is a painful process. It means dropping your illusions, dropping your ego, and standing alone in the vastness of existence. This is the real work. The Rolls Royces, the sex guru labels, the controversy, all of that is just the outer shell. It is the packaging. Inside the package, there is a very simple message. Wake up. You are sleeping in a burning house and you are dreaming about toys. I am the one who is shouting fire and trying to shake you awake. Naturally, you are annoyed. You were having such a nice dream. You were the king of your dream worlds, and here I am telling you that you are just a beggar sleeping on the street. You want to kill me for waking you up. I understand that. It is a natural reaction of the ego. But those who have the courage to open their eyes, they see the truth. They see that the dream was a nightmare. And the reality I am offering is 1,000 times more beautiful. They see that they don't need a savior because they are already divine. They don't need a fraud or a master to give them something. They only need to discover what they already have. When I talk about man, I am talking about a potential. You are not yet a man, you are only a promise. You are a seed. A seed is not a tree. A seed has to disappear into the earth. It has to die to its old identity so that the tree can be born. This is the death I teach. The death of the I, the death of the me, the death of the mind. Only when you are gone can the divine flow through you. People are so afraid of this disappearance. They want to be someone. They want to be famous. They want to be powerful. They want to be respected. I say, be nobody. There is a tremendous beauty in being a nobody. When you are a nobody, you are like a hollow bamboo. The universe can sing its song through you. You become a flute on the lips of the divine. But to be a nobody, you must first see the fraudulence of being a somebody. The conman accusations are very helpful in this regard. If the whole world thinks I am a fraud, then those who come to me cannot come for respectability. They cannot come to me to improve their social standing. In fact, by coming to me, they lose their social standing. They are mocked by their friends. They are disowned by their families. They are fired from their jobs. This is a great filter. It ensures that only the most sincere seekers, those who are willing to risk everything for the truth, remain with me. I am a master of creating situations that drive away the lukewarm people. I don't want crowds. I want individuals. Let's look deeper into the sex guru phenomenon. Why did I talk about sex so much in the early days? Because in India, the land of spirituality, the repression was at its peak. You had thousands of monks and nuns who were literally rotting inside because they were denying their biology. They were full of perversions, full of hidden desires. I had to hit that nerve. I had to expose the hypocrisy of the holy men. I told them that their celibacy was just a form of mental illness. This created a storm. The traditionalists were furious, but the young people, those whose minds were not yet poisoned, they heard the truth in my words. They felt the liberation. They realized that they didn't have to be ashamed of their bodies. They realized that sex is just the beginning of the journey, not the end. Once the shame is gone, the energy is free to move. And when that energy reaches the heart, it becomes love. When it reaches the third eye, it becomes vision. When it reaches the crown of the head, it becomes ecstasy. You cannot have ecstasy if you are holding back your energy at the base. It is like trying to drive a car with the handbrake on. You can step on the gas all you want, but the car will only smoke and smell, and eventually the engine will burn out. Most people are living with their sexual handbrake on. They are trying to be spiritual, trying to be good, but they are burning up inside. I am here to tell you, release the handbrake. Let the energy flow. Only then can you drive into the unknown. But the world is afraid of the unknown. It prefers the known, even if the known is miserable. People cling to their chains because the chains are familiar. They know the weight of the chains. They know the smell of the dungeon. Freedom is scary. Freedom means you have no one to blame but yourself. Freedom means you have to create your own path every moment. I am a master of freedom. And that is why I am the most misunderstood man on earth. They say I am a fraud because I have contradicted myself. I have said that there is no God, and I have also said that the whole existence is divine. To the logical mind, this is a contradiction. To the meditative mind, this is a simple truth. There is no God as a person sitting on a throne judging you. That God is a fiction created by the priests. But there is a godliness, a quality of consciousness that permeates everything. When I say there is no God, I am destroying your idol. When I say everything is divine, I am opening your eyes to the reality. They say I am a con man because I lived in luxury while my followers worked for free. But my followers were not working. They were participating in a grand experiment. They were creating a new world. They were not employees, they were creators. And as for my luxury, did I take it with me? When the city was destroyed, I left with nothing but the clothes I was wearing. I didn't have a bank account. I didn't have any property in my name. I was just a guest in the house my people built for me. The luxury was their love for me, and my presence was my gift to them. Where is the fraud in that? The real fraud is the politician who talks about service to the people while filling his pockets. The real fraud is the priest who talks about poverty while sitting on billions in the Vatican or the temples of India. I am the only honest man in this whole business because I tell you up front, I love beauty, I love comfort, I love the best that life has to offer, and I want you to have it too. I don't want you to be a beggar. I want you to be a king of both the inner and the outer. The world is a big fire. As the story of the blind man and the lame man goes, we are all in danger. The old man, the man of the past, is dying, and he is trying to take the whole world down with him. The only hope is the new man, the one who can see, and the one who can dance, the one who has the awareness of the Buddha and the passion of the zorba. If you look at me and see a fraud, then you are still part of the old world. You are still looking through the eyes of your conditioning. But if you look at me and see a possibility, then the seed has already started to sprout. Don't worry about the labels. Labels are for things. People are mysteries. And a master is the ultimate mystery. You can never know me. You can only be with me. And to be with me, you have to be ready to lose yourself. In this journey, we will explore many more facets of this mystery. We will talk about the silence, that is louder than words. We will talk about the laughter that can heal the soul. We will talk about the new man who is not a Christian, not a Hindu, not a Muslim, but simply a human being. A human being who is at home in the universe. Stay with me. Don't let your mind jump to conclusions. The mind is a very small thing. Life is vast. The mind wants answers. Life offers only experiences. I am not here to give you answers. I am here to give you a taste of the ultimate experience. I am here to show you that you are not a separate wave, but the ocean itself. And once you know that you are the ocean, all fear of death, all fear of fraudulence, all fear of the world disappears. You are free. The politicians of the world were trembling, not because of what I was doing, but because of what I was becoming. You see, a city like Rajneeshpuram was never just about houses and roads. It was an experiment in human consciousness. We took 64,000 acres of barren, desolate land in the Oregon desert, land that the government and the locals had given up on, and we made it bloom. We were creating a society that did not rely on the old structures of family, religion, or nationality. And that, my beloveds, is the greatest crime you can commit in the eyes of the state. If people can be happy without the state, then the state becomes irrelevant. If people can be blissful without the priests, then the religions lose their customers. I remember the silence of those Oregon mornings. I was in silence for years, not speaking a word, and yet the message was reaching thousands. The media, of course, was obsessed with the surface. They counted the cars, they gossiped about the sex guru, they analyzed the red clothes, but they missed the heart of the matter. The heart was a gathering of people who were no longer afraid to be themselves. They were no longer sheep, and a man who is not a sheep is a danger to the shepherd. The American government, under the pressure of the fundamentalist Christians, decided that this fraud had to be stopped. But how do you stop a man who wants nothing? How do you stop a man who is ready to die this very moment with a song on his lips? They tried everything. They tried to deny us our legal right to exist as a city. They harassed us with every bureaucratic trick in the book, but we just kept building, kept laughing, and kept meditating. So they had to resort to the ultimate weapon of the weak, force. They arrested me at gunpoint in North Carolina without any warrant, while I was simply traveling. They put me in chains. For the first time in human history, a man was being treated like a dangerous terrorist because he taught meditation. I laughed as they put the shackles on my feet. I told the officers, "You are putting chains on a man who has already gone beyond the body. You can chain the house, but you cannot chain the inhabitant." Those 12 days in American jails were a profound revelation. I saw the face of democracy and human rights up close, and it was the face of a monster. They moved me from one jail to another, keeping my location secret. They wanted to break my spirit. In Oklahoma City, they even tried to kill me. They gave me a mattress that had been treated with thallium, a deadly poison. They didn't want me to die immediately and become a martyr. They wanted me to die slowly, long after I had left their custody, so that no one could blame them. This is the civilized world we live in. They talk about God and morality, and they poison a guest in their house. But even in those dark cells, the light was there. I was not alone. The jailers themselves were curious. One of them asked me, "Osho, why are you smiling? You are in a cage." I told him, "The whole world is a cage, my friend. At least here the bars are visible. Outside, you are in a cage that you think is freedom. That is the most dangerous kind of prison." He looked at me with tears in his eyes. For a moment, he wasn't a jailer and I wasn't a prisoner. We were just two human beings sharing a moment of truth. This is what I mean when I say I am a mirror. Even in a jumpsuit, in chains, I was reflecting the light of awareness. They deported me because they couldn't find a single crime to charge me with. They forced me to pay a massive fine and leave the country. They thought they had won. They thought they had destroyed the con man's empire. But they are fools. My empire is not made of land. It is made of hearts. You can take away the desert city, but you cannot take away the transformation that happened there. Thousands of people learned what it means to be free. They learned that life is a celebration, not a duty. That seeds we planted in the Oregon desert are now blooming all over the world. People ask, "Why did you let it fall apart? Why didn't you fight back with liars and politicians?" Because I am not a politician. I am a player. I played the game as long as it was beautiful. When the game turned ugly, when it turned into a drama of violence and hate, I simply walked away. I am a guest on this planet. I don't own anything. Not even the breath I am taking right now belongs to me. It is a gift from the universe. When the universe decides the party is over, I say thank you and move on. But the world cannot understand this let go. They think in terms of winning and losing. They think I lost Oregon. I say I lived Oregon. For 5 years we lived a dream that the world said was impossible. We showed that thousands of people could live together in peace, without any police, without any poverty, without any sadness. We proved that the new man is not a fantasy, he is a reality. If we could do it once, we can do it again. The fraud is the one who says it can't be done. The master is the one who shows you that it is already happening. The politician's mind is a criminal mind. I don't say this to be provocative. I say it because it is a fact. A man who wants to rule over others is a man who is deeply insecure. He needs power to hide his own emptiness. He needs to control others because he cannot control himself. My work was to create people who could not be ruled. You can only rule a man who has fear. You can only rule a man who has greed. But a man who is blissful, a man who is centered in his own being, what can you offer him? What can you threaten him with? He has already found the greatest treasure. He is already ready to die. Such a man is the ultimate rebel. Rebellion is not a political act. Revolution is political. Revolution is just changing the people in power. One set of masters is replaced by another set of masters. The colors of the flags change, but the chains remain the same. Rebellion is spiritual. It is an individual act. It is saying, I will no longer be a part of your madness. I will no longer follow your dead traditions. I will no longer live for your promised heavens or fear your imagined hells. I will live my life according to my own light. When enough individuals become rebels, the whole society changes, but from the inside out, not from the top down. This is why they were so afraid of me. I was not asking for votes. I was asking for souls. I was not trying to change the government. I was trying to make the government unnecessary. Think of a world where every individual is so conscious, so loving, so aware that there is no need for laws. That is my vision. It sounds like a utopia to the mind that is steeped in conflict, but it is the only practical solution for humanity. Either we become conscious or we commit global suicide. There is no third way. They call me a con man because I didn't fit into their ideas of how a spiritual man should behave. They wanted me to be a servant. They wanted me to be humble. They wanted me to be predictable. But I am a lion, not a sheep. And a lion doesn't follow the rules of the herd. My arrogance, as they call it, was simply my refusal to bow down to their lies. I don't bow to anyone, and I don't want anyone to bow to me. I want you to stand tall. I want you to look the world in the eye with the same fire that I have. I remember my return to India after being deported from America and being refused entry to 21 different countries. The whole world had become a prison. No country wanted Osho. Why? Because I am a mirror that reflects the ugliness of their systems. They were all in a conspiracy. The communists, the capitalists, the Christians, the Muslims, they all agreed on one thing: this man must be silenced. But how do you silence a psalm? How do you silence the wind? I eventually returned to Pune, back to where the journey had begun, in a different way. And the people came back, even more of them. The fire could not be extinguished. If anything, the persecution made the flame brighter. It showed the world who the real frauds were. The real frauds were the ones who talked about freedom of speech while trying to deport a man for speaking. The real frauds were the ones who talked about religious freedom while destroying a spiritual community. I was the only one who remained consistent. I remained a witness. People often ask me about the master part of the title. What is a master? A master is not a teacher. A teacher gives you information. A master gives you a presence. A teacher talks about the light. A master is the light. Being with a master is like being near a fire. You will get burned. Your ego will be reduced to ashes. If you are looking for comfort, go to a priest. If you are looking for a philosophy, go to a professor. But if you are looking for a transformation, you have to find a master. And you have to be ready to die. The fraud label was my protection. It kept the spiritual tourists away. Only those who could see past the labels, only those who could feel the vibration of my heart stayed. And those are the people who truly transformed. They didn't care what the newspaper said. They didn't care what the politicians said. They knew from their own experience that something was happening in my presence that had never happened before. They felt a silence that was not of this world. They felt a love that had no conditions. Look at your own life. Who are your masters? Your fear is a master. Your greed is a master. Your society is a master. You are a slave to 1,000 things, and yet you call me a cult leader. At least in my presence, you are a slave to nothing but your own potential. I am here to seduce you into your own freedom. I am here to play with you, to trick you, to con you into realizing that you are already free. If that makes me a con man, then I am proud of it. It is the highest form of art. I want you to understand that the controversy surrounding me was not an accident. I created it. I wanted to save the world. I wanted to provoke people into thinking, into questioning, into waking up. If I had been a nice guru, a sweet saint, I would have been forgotten in a week. But because I was a dangerous mystic, I am still here. I am still a thorn in the flesh of the establishment, and I will remain so as long as there is even one person on this earth who is seeking the truth. The Oregon story is a tragedy only if you look at the buildings and the money. If you look at the consciousness, it was a grand success. We showed that a different way of living is possible. We showed that work can be meditation. We showed that life can be a festival. We showed that the boundary between the material and the spiritual is a lie. Zorba and Buddha can walk hand in hand. In fact, they must. Without Zorba, the Buddha is too cold. Without Buddha, Zorba is too blind. Together, they are the whole human being. I have been called many things, but fraud is perhaps my favorite. It shows that I succeeded in confusing the mind. The mind cannot categorize me. It gets frustrated. It tries to label me, but the labels don't stick. He is a rich man's guru. Okay, but why does he have no money? He is a sex guru. Okay, but why does he sit in silence for hours? He is a con man. Okay, but what is he stealing? He is stealing our misery. He is stealing our chains. Don't let the opinions of others define your reality. The world is full of experts who know nothing about themselves. They can tell you everything about the stars, but they don't know the one who is looking at the stars. They can tell you everything about history, but they don't know the present moment. I am here to bring you back to the present. I am here to bring you back to yourself. Whether you see me as a master or a fraud, is not a statement about me, it is a statement about you. If you see a fraud, it means you are still trapped in the world of appearances. You are still judging by the surface. You are still a prisoner of your own mind. But if you see a master, it means something in you has recognized its own home. Something in you has felt a resonance. That resonance is the beginning of your own awakening. I am not here to be your destination. I am here to be a door. Don't stop at the door, walk through it. And once you are through, don't look back. You don't need the door anymore. You are in the open sky. That is the goal of all my cons, all my tricks, and all my jokes. To get you to the point where you don't need me. A true master is one who makes himself unnecessary. I am working hard every day to become unnecessary to you. As we continue this journey, we will look at the final synthesis, the vision of the new man. We will see how the master and the fraud merge into a single laughing reality. We will look at the story of the blind man and the lame man and how it holds the key to the future of humanity. But for now, just be. Just listen to the silence that follows my words. In that silence, you will find the real Osho. In that silence, there are no labels, no controversies, and no frauds. There is only the eternal isness. The world will continue to scream. The politicians will continue to plot. The priests will continue to preach. But you can choose to dance. You can choose to be a zorba. You can choose to be a Buddha. Better yet, you can choose to be both. Do not let the world tell you that you have to choose. You are the whole existence. Why settle for a part? I remember a moment in the Oregon desert just before the end. I was looking at the hills, the red earth, the thousands of people who had gathered to celebrate. I knew it was going to end. I knew the forces of darkness were closing in. And yet I felt a deep peace. I knew that the experiment had succeeded. We had touched the eternal. And once you have touched the eternal, time no longer matters. Whether the city lasted 5 years or 500 years is irrelevant. The quality of the moment is what counts, not the quantity of time. This is what I want for you. I want you to live with such intensity that every moment becomes eternal. I want you to love with such totality that the lover disappears. I want you to meditate with such depth that the meditator is no more. This is the only way to live. Everything else is just a slow way of dying. They can call me a fraud as much as they want, but they cannot deny the life that is overflowing from my people. They cannot deny the joy, and that joy is the ultimate proof. Let them have their theories. Let them have their labels. We have the dance, we have the laughter, we have the silence, and in the end, that is all that matters. The spiritually incorrect mystic is just a way of saying that I am not part of their dead worlds. I am part of the living, breathing, pulsing reality of the now. And in the now, there is no frauds, no master, only the mystery. The world is a graveyard of half-lived lives because of one simple, poisonous word, choice. You have been told to choose. If you want to be spiritual, you must renounce the world. If you want to be material, you must forget the soul. This division is the greatest fraud ever committed against humanity. It has split the human soul into two warring factions. On one side, you have the worldly man, stressed, greedy, chasing shadows, yet full of vitality. On the other side, you have the spiritual man, pale, bloodless, life-denying, sitting in a temple but dreaming of the world he left behind. I am here to tell you that this choice is false. You don't have to choose. In fact, if you choose, you lose. My vision of the new man is Zorba the Buddha. This is the synthesis that the world has been waiting for. Zorba is the foundation. Zorba represents the earth, the juice, the passion, the wine, the sun, and the dance. Zorba is the man who can enjoy a piece of bread as if it were a banquet, who can love a woman with his whole heart, who can laugh until the stars tremble. But Zorba alone is blind. He lives in the moment, but he has no direction. He has energy, but no awareness. He is a beautiful animal, but he is still an animal. Then there is the Buddha. The Buddha represents the sky, the silence, the awareness, the light. He is the one who has reached the peaks of consciousness. He is a witness to the whole drama of life. but the traditional Buddha is crippled. He has the eyes to see, but he has no legs to dance. He is a dry vision, a cold light. He has escaped the world because he was afraid of its passions. I want you to be both. I want you to be a zorba who is also a Buddha. I want you to be a Buddha who has the guts to be a zorba. To the world, this looks like a fraud. How can a man be enlightened and still enjoy a Rolls Royce? How can a man be a master and still appreciate a beautiful diamond? They think that if you are enlightened, you should be indifferent. They think you should be a stone. But I say, if your enlightenment makes you less alive, then it is not enlightenment. It is a mental illness. Real enlightenment makes you more sensitive, not less. It makes you more capable of enjoying everything from the smallest flower to the largest palace. I remember a story of a great king who went to a Zen master. The king was very rich, and the Zen master lived in a simple hut. The king asked, "What is the difference between you and me? I have everything and you have nothing. Yet they say you are a master and I am just a seeker." The Zen master laughed and said, "Come with me for a walk." They walked to the edge of the kingdom. The master just kept walking, crossing the border. The king followed him. Finally, the king said, "Wait, I cannot go any further. I have my kingdom to look after. My wives, my treasures, my responsibilities. You can just keep walking because you have nothing." The Zen master turned around and said, "That is the difference. I am walking away from nothing, and you are being pulled back by your possessions. I can live in a palace and be just as ready to walk away as I am now. You live in a palace, and the palace owns you." This is the secret of Zorba the Buddha. Own everything, but let nothing own you. Use the world, but don't let the world use you. This is why I had those 93 cars. I wanted to show that I could have them and yet remain completely untouched by them. They were toys. If they were there, good. If they were gone, good. But for the people watching, those cars were a mirror of their own attachment. They couldn't walk away from the idea of the cars. They were possessed by my possessions. The new man is not a man of the past. The man of the past was a part. He was either a soldier, or a priest, or a businessman, or a servant. He was defined by his function. The new man is a whole. He is a creator, a meditator, a lover, and a rebel all at once. He is a multi-dimensional being. He doesn't live in a single room of his house. He lives in the whole mansion. The traditional religions have taught you to be pious. Piety is just a fancy word for repression. It means you hide your zorba in the basement and pretend to be a Buddha in the living room. But the zorba is still there, screaming to get out. That is why your saints are so often caught in scandals. Their zorba was never integrated. He was just imprisoned. And prisoners always look for a chance to escape. In my community, there were no prisoners. We brought the zorba out into the light. We danced, we celebrated, we lived. And because the zorba was satisfied, he was willing to sit silently in meditation. You see, you cannot force a child to sit still if he has energy to burn. You have to let him play, let him run, let him exhaust himself. Then he will sit down naturally and fall into a deep, peaceful sleep. The same is true for the human soul. You must live your zorba fully so that your Buddha can arise out of the silence of fulfillment, not out of the frustration of denial. There is a beautiful metaphor I want to share with you, a story that sums up our current human condition. It is the story of the blind man and the lame man. Imagine a forest that has caught on fire. In this forest, there are two men. One is blind. He can run fast. His legs are strong. He has the energy, but he cannot see where the fire is or where the exit is. The other man is lame. He can see perfectly. He can see the path to safety. He knows exactly where to go, but he cannot walk. He is stuck. Separately, they are both doomed. The blind man will run right into the flames. The lame man will sit and watch the fire consume him. But they are not fools. They realize that they need each other. They forget their old competition, their old egos. They make a pact. The blind man takes the lame man on his shoulders. Now they function as a single organism. The lame man provides the eyes and the blind man provides the legs. Together they walk out of the burning forest and save their lives. This is exactly the situation of humanity today. Zorba is the blind man. He is the man of the world, full of energy, science, technology, and passion. But he is blind to the ultimate meaning of life. He is running towards destruction because he doesn't have the eyes of awareness. Buddha is the lame man. He has the vision, the silence, the light, but he has become disconnected from the world. He sits on his mountain top while the world below burns. My work is to bring these two together. I want the blind man to carry the lame man. I want the energy of the world to be guided by the vision of meditation. I want the science of the West to be joined with the silence of the East. This is the only way to save the forest. This is the only way to save humanity from the global suicide we are currently preparing. The politicians and the priests are the ones who want to keep the blind man and the lame man separate. They thrive on the division. The politician wants the blind man to keep working and fighting. The priest wants the lame man to keep praying and feeling guilty. Neither of them wants a whole man, because a whole man is dangerous. A whole man is a rebel. A whole man cannot be exploited. When people call me a fraud, they are usually reacting to this wholeness. They see me as a con man because I am playing a game they don't understand. I am using the material to lead you to the spiritual. I am using the fraudulent world of appearances to wake you up to the real world of consciousness. If I have to use a royce to get your attention, I will use it. If I have to tell a joke to break your seriousness, I will tell it. The fraud is just a device. Think about a parent who tells a child a story to get him to eat his vegetables. Is the parent a fraud? Perhaps, but the goal is the health of the child. I am dealing with children who are 70, 80 years old, but who have never grown up. They are stuck in their egos, their prejudices, and their fears. I have to be very creative to get them to eat the meditation that will save them. The new man I speak of, Zorba the Buddha, is the only future for this planet. We have reached a point where the old man can no longer survive. The old man is a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Jew. The old man is an American, a Russian, a Chinese, an Indian. These are all dead labels. They are the walls of the prison. The new man has no nationality and no religion. He is a citizen of the universe. He is a religious man, but he has no religion. His religiousness is his love for life, his respect for the earth, and his silence in the face of the mystery. I want you to imagine a world where work is not a burden, but a creative expression, where love is not a contract, but a sharing of two souls, where meditation is not a ritual, but a state of being. This was the dream of Rajneeshpuram. And even though they destroyed the city, the dream is alive. It is alive in everyone who has heard my words and felt a shift in their heart. People often ask Osho, if you are a master, why do you let people do things their own way? Why don't you give us a strict code of conduct? Because a code of conduct is for robots, not for men. I want you to have an inner code, not an outer one. I want you to have such a sharp awareness that you don't need a rule book to tell you what is right and what is wrong. If you are aware, you cannot hurt another human being. If you are aware, you cannot be greedy. Awareness is the only morality. The world is a fire. Your life is in danger. You are living in a house that is already burning. Don't waste your time arguing about whether the man who is trying to wake you up is a master or a fraud. That is a luxury you don't have. Look at the fire. Look at the exit. If you are a zorba, find your Buddha. If you are a Buddha, find your zorba. And if you are lucky enough to be with me, let me help you find both within yourself. Don't be a half man. Be a whole man. Live fully and die fully. There is no other way to be. The fraudulence people see in me is often just my playfulness. I don't take myself seriously, and I don't take the world seriously. To the ego, this is an insult. The ego wants everything to be grave, somber, and heavy. I want everything to be light, airy, and full of song. I am a spiritual entertainer. I am here to entertain you into enlightenment. If you are laughing, you are closer to God than when you are praying. Laughter is the highest prayer. I remember my early days in India, talking to people in the marketplaces, in the universities, in the temples. I was always the same. I was always challenging the status quo. I was always pointing out the hypocrisy of the leaders. They couldn't stop me because I didn't want anything from them. You can only control a man who has a desire. If a man has no desire, he is a free man. And a free man is a dangerous man. They think they silenced me by poisoning me and deporting me. But my voice is now everywhere. It is in the wind, it is in the trees, it is in the hearts of my sannyasis. They could kill the body, but they could not kill the silence that the body carried. That silence is now your silence. The journey of Zorba the Buddha is the journey from the periphery to the center. On the periphery, there is the noise, the cars, the money, the sex, the politics, These are all part of the dance. Don't deny them, but don't get lost in them. Find the center, the silent point in the middle of the hurricane. When you have found that center, you can dance as much as you want. You can be as much of a zorba as you want, because you will never lose your Buddha. This is the integration I am teaching. This is the synthesis that can save the world. It is a rebellion against all the either-or philosophies of the past. I say both ends. Be rich and be spiritual. Be sexual and be meditative. Be a scientist and be a mystic. Don't be a fragment, be a whole. The Kahneman label was just a way for the world to try to dismiss this vision. It was too much for them. It challenged their comfortable misery. It told them that they didn't have to suffer. It told them that their holiness was just a mask for their cowardice. Naturally, they struck back, but their blows fell on empty air. I was not there to be hurt. I am an absence, not a presence. I am a hollow bamboo. As we move toward the conclusion of this long talk, I want you to reflect on the new man. Who is he? He is you without your labels. He is you without your history. He is you as you were before you were born and as you will be after you die. He is the eternal witness, and that witness is both a zorba and a Buddha. Don't wait for the world to change. The world will never change. You have to change. You have to take the blind man of your energy and the lame man of your vision and bring them together. You have to start the dance. And once the dance starts, you will see that the fraud and the master were just two ways of talking about the same thing, the mystery of life. The 93 Rolls Royces are gone. The city in Oregon is gone. The body that was called Osho is gone. But the laughter remains. The silence remains. The invitation remains. Are you ready to be a Zorba the Buddha? Are you ready to walk out of the burning forest? The path is there. It is not a path of belief, it is a path of awareness. Look at your own life. Are you a Zorba without a Buddha? Are you running blindly? Or are you a Buddha without a Zorba? Are you a crippled vision? Bring them together. Let the blind man carry the lame man. Let the celebration begin. This is the only fraud I have ever committed. I have told you that you are already what you want to be. I have told you that the treasure you are seeking is already in your own pocket. If you believe me, you are a fool. If you disbelieve me, you are a fool. But if you look inside and find the treasure, then you are a master. To be a whole man is to be a holy man. But the world has a very different idea of holiness. To them, holiness is a form of spiritual plastic surgery. You cut off your nose to spite your face. You deny your hunger. You deny your desire. And you present a smooth, emotionless mask to the world. I am here to tear that mask off. I am here to tell you that your anger, your greed, and your sexuality are all parts of your raw energy. They are not enemies, they are friends who have lost their way. They are the fuel for your transformation. If you burn the fuel before you start the engine, you will never get anywhere. This is where the master comes in. The master is not someone who gives you a new set of rules to follow. That is what a priest does. A priest wants to control your behavior. A master wants to ignite your consciousness. And the process of ignition is often misunderstood as fraud or madness. I remember when I first started calling myself Bhagwan, the world went crazy. The journalists were screaming, "How can this man call himself God?" They are so literal minded. They think Bhagwan means the creator of the world, a person with a white beard sitting on a cloud. For me, Bhagwan simply means the Blessed One. It means someone who has realized his own divinity. And I didn't call myself Bhagwan because I had an ego. I called myself Bhagwan specifically to crush the egos of those who came to me. If I am an ordinary man, you can relate to me as a friend, as a teacher, as a peer. But if I am Bhagwan, you are forced to confront your own divinity or your own denial of it. It was a device. It was a provocation. It was a way to say to the world, if I am God, then you are God too. But I have realized it and you are still sleeping. A master is a mirror that is not only empty but also very bright. It reflects your potential, but it also reflects your current ugliness. When people looked at me and saw a fraud, they were seeing their own inability to trust. Trust is a rare quality in this world. You have been taught to doubt, to compete, to protect yourself. Trusting a master is the ultimate risk. It means saying, I am willing to let go of my control. I am willing to be vulnerable. To the logical mind, this looks like a con. It looks like the master is taking advantage of the follower, but in reality, the master is the only one who is not taking anything from you. He is trying to give you back yourself. People often ask me about the spiritually incorrect part of my life. Why did I enjoy the best clothes? Why did I enjoy the best food? Why did I live in luxury? Because I wanted to destroy the ancient link between spirituality and poverty. For centuries, the world has been told that if you are spiritual, you must be a beggar. This has created a very strange situation. The rich feel guilty about their money, and the poor feel holy about their poverty. It is a win-win for the priests, but a lose-lose for humanity. I wanted to show the world that you can be the richest man on earth and still be a meditator. In fact, wealth should be a tool for meditation. If you have to worry about where your next meal is coming from, you cannot meditate. If you are living in a hovel, your mind is constantly occupied with the discomfort. But if you are in a beautiful room, in a comfortable bed, with your physical needs met, then for the first time you are left alone with yourself. And that is when the real challenge begins. That is when you realize that all the money in the world cannot fill the inner void. I am the rich man's guru, because only the rich man can understand that money is not the answer. The poor man still thinks that if he just had $1 million, all his problems would disappear. He is still an optimist. The rich man is a pessimist. And pessimism is the beginning of the search for truth. I remember my university days when I was sharpening the sword of my intelligence. I would debate with the professors. I would challenge the books. I would never take "I don't know" for an answer. People thought I was arrogant. I wasn't arrogant. I was simply not a believer. I wanted to see the truth for myself. And that same fire is what I want to ignite in you. Don't believe me because I am famous. Don't believe me because thousands of people follow me. Don't even believe me because what I say sounds right. Believe only your own experience. If meditation brings you peace, then it is real. If my presence helps you wake up, then I am a master for you. If it doesn't, then for you I am a fraud, and both are okay. The new man is a man who is comfortable with contradictions. The old mind wants everything to be black and white. It wants a good guy and a bad guy. But life is grey. Life is a rainbow of colors. I am a man who can sit in silence for 22 hours a day and then spend 2 hours telling jokes and driving a Rolls Royce. Is that a contradiction? Only to the mind. To the heart, it is just the rhythm of life. It is the inhale and the exhale. Silence is the inhale, celebration is the exhale. Look at the history of the sex guru label again. Why did the world react so violently? Because I was touching the most sensitive part of the human ego. Sex is the point where you are most animalistic, and also the point where you are most divine. It is the bridge. By condemning sex, the religions have tried to burn the bridge. They want you to stay on the animal side, feeling like a sinner, so that they can offer you salvation. I say, the bridge is beautiful. Walk on it. Dance on it. Don't get stuck in the middle, but don't try to jump over it either. Use the energy of sex to propel you into the energy of love and then into the energy of prayer. The world loves its martyrs. They love Jesus on the cross. They love Socrates with the poison. They love Gandhi in his loincloth. Why? Because a dead or suffering saint makes them feel comfortable. A suffering saint doesn't challenge their own lifestyle. But a laughing saint, a rich saint, a dancing saint, that is a threat that says to them, you could be happy right now and you are choosing to be miserable. That is why they hate me. My happiness is an insult to their misery. My luxury is a slap in the face of their self-imposed poverty. I am often accused of being a cult leader. What is a cult? To the establishment, a cult is any religion that is too new or too small to be respected. Christianity was a cult for 300 years. Buddhism was a cult. Every great movement starts as a cult because it is a rebellion against the dead past. I don't want a religion because religion is a dead organization. I want a religionless religion, a movement of individuals who are united by their search for truth, not by their adherence to a creed. In Rajneeshpuram, we were not a cult, we were a laboratory. We were experimenting with how to live in the 21st century. We were showing that you don't need a family, you don't need a nation, and you don't need a church to be a whole human being. We were creating the new man in real time, and the world was so terrified of the success of that experiment that they had to destroy the laboratory. But they couldn't destroy the formula. The formula is meditation plus celebration equals freedom. They say, I conned my sannyasins into giving me their money. But what did they get in return? They got a new life. They got a sense of belonging. They got the chance to wake up. Many of them had been successful doctors, lawyers, and engineers in the West, but they were empty inside. They gave up their successful misery for a fraudulent bliss. To me, that seems like a very good deal. If I am a con man, I am the worst one in history, because my victims are the happiest people on earth. I have often spoken about the ordinary human being. This is another part of the mystery. People want their masters to be extraordinary. They want them to fly through the air, or walk on water, or perform miracles. I say the greatest miracle is to be ordinary. To be so ordinary that you have no ego left. To be so ordinary that you are just a part of the nature, like a tree or a bird. I am an ordinary human being. I eat, I sleep, I talk, I laugh. The only thing that is extraordinary about me is that I know I am ordinary. You think you are extraordinary, and that is your prison. The Joker is also one of my faces. I tell jokes because truth is too heavy to be delivered directly. If I give you the truth straight, your mind will reject it. It will go into defense mode. But if I tell you a joke, your mind relaxes. You laugh. And in that moment of laughter, your defenses are down. Your mind is open. That is when I can slip the truth in, like a seed. Laughter is the best medicine for the ego. The ego cannot survive laughter. It needs seriousness. It needs drama. It needs important things. I am here to tell you that nothing is important. Everything is a play. I remember my time in the Oregon desert, driving past my sannyasins every afternoon. It was a simple thing, just a few minutes of connection. But in those few minutes, something profound was happening. There was no talking, just looking. A transmission beyond words. People would be in tears, or in ecstasy, or in deep silence. The world saw a man in a Rolls Royce. My people saw a mirror of their own inner light. Who was right? The one who saw the car, or the one who saw the light? Both saw what they were capable of seeing. If you are looking for a fraud, you will find one. If you are looking for a master, you will find one. But if you are looking for yourself, you will find me standing in the way, laughing, telling you that there is nowhere to look but inside. I am a signpost. A signpost is not the destination. Don't start worshipping the signpost. Don't start painting the signpost and decorating it with flowers. Use it. See where it is pointing and go there. The vision of Zorba the Buddha is not a luxury, it is a necessity for the survival of our species. We have split the world into the East and the West. The East has developed the soul but neglected the body, leading to poverty and disease. The West has developed the body but neglected the soul, leading to stress, anxiety, and the threat of nuclear war. Both are incomplete. Both are half men. The new man must be a whole man. He must have the science of the West and the silence of the East. He must have the technology of the Zorba and the consciousness of the Buddha. This is the only rebellion that matters. Everything else is just a change of masters. I am here to help you become your own master. I am here to help you sharpen your own sword. It will be painful. You will have to cut through your own illusions. You will have to face your own shadows. You will have to admit that much of what you call you is just a collection of voices from your past. Your parents, your teachers, your society. But on the other side of that pain is a freedom that cannot be described. People ask me, Osho, what will happen after you are gone? I tell them, nothing will happen. My words are already in the air. My silence is already in your hearts. I am not a person, I am an invitation. The invitation will remain as long as there is one person who is tired of the lies, one person who is seeking the truth. I will be there, not as a ghost, but as a resonance. The story of the blind man and the lame man is the story of our time. We are all blind in some ways and lame in others. We need each other. But more importantly, we need to integrate these parts within ourselves. We need to let our inner zorba carry our inner Buddha. We need to live with passion and witness with awareness. This is the synthesis. This is the way out of the burning forest. As I look at you, I see so much potential. I see seeds that are waiting for the right conditions to sprout. Don't let the world crush you. Don't let the labels fraud or master distract you. These are just words. Look at the reality. Look at your own life. Are you happy? Are you silent? Are you in love with existence? If not, then something is wrong. And that something is not in the world, it is in your own mind. I have played many roles in this life. I have been the professor, the public speaker, the silent mystic, the sex guru, the Rolls-Royce guru, the prisoner, and the deportee. I have enjoyed every single one of them. Each role was a chance to witness the play of existence. Each role was a chance to be a mirror for the world. And now I am simply this voice talking to you, reminding you of who you really are. Don't be afraid of the controversy. Controversy is a good sign. It means that something is being shaken. It means that the old structures are being challenged. A man who creates no controversy is a man who is already dead. He is just another brick in the wall. I am not a brick. I am a crack in the wall. And through that crack, the light can get in. Let the world call me a fraud. Let them call me a con man. I don't care. I am not here to win a popularity contest. I am here to wake you up. And if I have to be a villain in your story to get you to open your eyes, then I will be the best villain you have ever seen. Because my love for you is greater than my desire for your respect. My love for you is so great that I am willing to be hated by you, if that is what it takes to make you see the truth. The journey of Zorba the Buddha is the journey to the heart of the mystery. It is a journey that has no end because the mystery is infinite. But it is a journey that starts with a single step, the step of awareness. Be aware of your breath. Be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of your feelings. And slowly you will see that you are the observer of all these things. You are the witness. And in that witnessing, you are free. The 93 Rolls-Royces were just a drop in the ocean. The Oregon desert was just a grain of sand. The real miracle is happening right now. In this moment, as you listen to these words, the real miracle is the silence that is beginning to grow between my words and your hearing. That silence is the truth. That silence is the master. That silence is you. Stay with that silence. Don't let the mind rush back in with its questions and its labels. Just be. For a few moments, be a nobody. Be an absence. Be a hollow bamboo. And let the song of the divine play through you. This is the only purpose of life. Everything else is just a fraudulent distraction. Death is perhaps the greatest mystery of all. But for me, it was my first teacher. When I was only 7 years old, My grandfather, the man who had given me the freedom to be myself, died in my arms. I watched him go. I saw the breath leave his body, and in that moment I saw the ultimate truth. If this is the end of everyone, then life as we know it is a monumental deception. I became obsessed with the deathless, not out of fear, but out of a deep burning curiosity. If there is something that survives death, then life has a meaning. If not, then we are all just a brief flicker in an infinite darkness. This search for the deathless is what led me to meditation, and it is what eventually led the world to call me a master or a fraud. But look at the irony. The very people who called me a fraud were the ones who believed in a heaven they had never seen and a God they had never met. I was the one talking about the reality of the present moment, the reality of the breath, the reality of the body. Yet I was the con man. Why? Because I didn't offer a future salvation. I offered a present awakening. And the mind hates the present. The mind thrives on the then and there. The here and now is the death of the mind. When I started initiating people into sannyas, I gave them orange robes. The world laughed. Look at the circus, they said. But the orange robes were a device. In India, orange is the color of the traditional monk, the one who renounces the world. I took that color and gave it to people who were living in the world, doctors, dancers, businessmen, mothers. I was committing a spiritual theft. I was stealing the symbol of the past and giving it to the man of the future. I wanted my sannyasins to be a constant provocation to the society. I wanted them to be a reminder that you can be in the world but not of the world. People think sannyas is about joining a group. It is exactly the opposite. Sannyas is the declaration of your individuality. It is the moment you say, I am no longer a part of the crowd. I am no longer a Hindu, a Christian, or a communist. I am simply myself. The red clothes and the mala with my picture were just a uniform for the university of the soul. It was a way to create an energy field, a Buddha field, where transformation could happen more quickly. But the clothes were not the sannyas. The awareness was the sannyas. They say I was a cult leader who brainwashed people. Let me tell you about brainwashing. From the moment you are born, your parents, your teachers, and your priests are brainwashing you. They tell you what to believe, how to act, what to love, and what to fear. They fill your head with garbage. I was not brainwashing my people. I was dry cleaning their brains. I was washing away the filth of centuries. I was clearing the space so that your own original intelligence could breathe. Naturally, the society was upset. If people start thinking for themselves, the politicians are in trouble. If people start feeling their own divinity, the priests are out of a job. The tragedy of Oregon was not that the city was destroyed, but that the world saw the ugliness of its own justice system. When they arrested me in 1985, they were not looking for truth. They were looking for a way to kill a vision. In those jails, when they moved me from place to place in the middle of the night, I felt the thallium poisoning my system. I felt my body becoming weak, my bones aching, my skin becoming sensitive. They thought they were being clever. They didn't want a martyr's blood on their hands. They wanted a slow, invisible death. But they failed. They could poison the body, but they couldn't poison the consciousness. In fact, the physical weakness only made the inner light brighter. I sat in those cells and I felt a deep compassion for my jailers. They were so small, so driven by fear, so caught up in their little games of power. They were the ones in prison, not me. I was free even in jails. This is the difference between a master and a slave. A slave is a slave even on a throne. A master is a master even in a dungeon. The fraud that the world accuses me of is actually their own projection of dissatisfaction. They see my luxury and they feel their own greed. They see my freedom and they feel their own chains. They see my laughter and they feel their own misery. If they can convince themselves that I am a fake, then they don't have to deal with the fact that they are wasting their lives. They can stay in their comfortable graves and feel superior. But the truth is, I have lived more in a single day than most people live in an entire lifetime. I have spoken about the robot. This is one of the archetypes I talk about in the Book of Man. Most people are robots. They act according to their programming. They wake up at the same time, eat the same food, say the same things, and have the same arguments. They think they are choosing, but they are just following a script. My work was to breed the robot. That's why I created such chaotic situations. That's why I would say one thing today and the opposite tomorrow. I wanted to keep you off balance. When you are off balance, the robot cannot function. For a split second, you have to be conscious. You have to be here. And then there is the animal. We are taught to be ashamed of our animal nature. We are told to repress our instincts. But I say, the animal is the foundation of the Buddha. If you kill the animal, you kill the life force. The new man, Zorba the Buddha, accepts his animal nature but doesn't get stuck in it. He uses the energy of the animal to fly into the sky of the Buddha. He is a winged animal. This is the synthesis. This is what the sex guru label was trying to hide. It was trying to make the winged animal look like a common beast. The world is currently in a state of global crisis. The blind man, the politician, the scientist without soul is running toward the cliff. The lame man, the priest, the philosopher is sitting and talking about the cliff. Neither of them can stop the fall. Only the integration of the two, the blind man carrying the lame man, can save us. We need a science that is meditative. We need a technology that is rooted in love. We need a politics that is based on the welfare of the whole planet, not just a single tribe. I am not a savior. I am not going to do the work for you. I am just a catalyst. If you put a certain chemical into a solution, a reaction happens. The chemical itself doesn't change, but its presence causes the transformation. I am that presence. My words, my silences, my jokes, and even my Rolls Royces were all part of the chemical reaction. Some people crystallized into a new way of being. Others stayed as they were or became even more bitter. That is the risk of the experiment. People ask Osho, why do you talk so much about the new man? Isn't the old man good enough? No, the old man is a disaster. The old man has created 2 world wars and is preparing for a third. The old man has polluted the air, the water, and the soil. The old man is a divided being, full of hate and guilt. If we don't create a new man, there will be no man at all. The earth will simply shake us off like a bad case of fleas. The new man is a creator. He doesn't want to destroy. He wants to celebrate. He doesn't want to follow. He wants to explore. He is not interested in power over others. He is interested in the power over his own unconsciousness. This new man is already being born. You can see him in the artists, the rebels, the meditators, and the lovers who are popping up all over the planet. They don't belong to any organization. They are the religionless ones, and they are my people, whether they have heard of me or not. I remember my final days in the body. The thallium was doing its work, and my physical form was becoming a burden. But the joy was still there. The silence was still there. I was prepared to leave the body with the same grace that I lived in it. I told my people, I am leaving you my dream. I am leaving you my laughter. Don't mourn for me. Celebrate. If you love me, dance. If you miss me, meditate. A master never dies. The body is just a garment. When the garment is old and torn, the inhabitant moves on, but the fragrance remains. My fragrance is in every word I have spoken, and it is in the silence between those words. If you can hear the silence, then you are with me right now. There is no distance between us. The master and the disciple are just two ends of the same energy. When the energy flows, the labels disappear. Look at the world again. Do you see a master or a fraud? Do you see a con man or a mystic? It doesn't matter. What matters is, what do you see in yourself? Are you living your truth? Are you happy? Are you free? If you are not, then you are the one who is being a fraud. You are being a fraud to your own potential. You are pretending to be a small, limited creature when you are actually the infinite existence itself. Drop the pretension. Drop the masks. Be a zorba. Be a Buddha. Be a whole human being. The world doesn't need more saints. It needs more whole people. It needs people who are not afraid to live, not afraid to love, and not afraid to die. This is my message. This is my con. I am trying to trick you into your own magnificence. I have heard a story about a man who was looking for the greatest master in the world. He traveled to every mountain, every desert, and every temple. Finally, he heard about a master who lived in a small village. He went there and asked, "Are you the greatest master?" The man laughed and said, "I don't know about that, but I can show you the greatest miracle." The traveler was excited. "Show me," he said. The master took him to a nearby well and said, "Look inside." The traveler looked inside and saw his own reflection. "I see myself," he shouted. The master smiled and said, "That is the miracle. To see yourself as you really are. I have spent my whole life being that well. I have invited everyone to look inside. Some saw a fraud, some saw a saint, but those who were truly ready saw themselves. And once you have seen yourself, you don't need a master anymore. You have become your own light. You have become the spiritually incorrect mystic. You have become a rebel. The Rolls-Royce Guru was a character in a play. The sex guru was a character in a play. The cult leader was a character in a play. All of these roles were necessary to set the world out of its sleep. But now the play is over. The curtain is falling. And what remains is the silence. That silence is the truth. That silence is the only thing that is not a fraud. Don't let the mind drag you back into the past. Don't let it worry you about the future. The present is the only reality. In this moment, there is no Osho. And there is no you. There is only the isness. There is only the breathing, the heartbeat, the awareness. This is the ultimate peak. This is the goal of all meditation. I have spoken enough. Now it is time for you to listen, not to me, but to the silence within yourself. In that silence, you will find all the answers. In that silence, you will find the deathless. In that silence, you will find the new man. Be a light unto yourself. Don't follow me. Don't follow anyone. Just follow your own awareness. It is the only guide that will never deceive you. It is the only thing that is truly yours. Everything else can be taken away. Your money, your status, your body, your mind, but your awareness is eternal. It is the Buddha within. The world will continue to judge. Let it. The world will continue to label. Let it. You just continue to dance. You just continue to celebrate. You just continue to be. That is the greatest rebellion. That is the greatest holiness. And that is the only way to be truly alive. I have loved being with you. I have loved playing with you. I have loved being the mirror for your beautiful faces. And even if you think I am a fraud, I love you anyway. Because I can see the Buddha in you, even if you can't see it yourself. I can see the zorba in you, even if you are trying to hide it. You are a masterpiece, my beloveds. Just realize it. The story of Osho is not a story of a man. It is a story of a vision of a humanity that is free, loving and conscious, a vision of a planet where there are no borders, no religions and no wars, a vision of a life that is a continuous celebration. This vision is now in your hands. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to stay in the burning forest, arguing about the labels? Or are you going to take the blind man of your energy and the lame man of your vision and walk out into the open sky? The choice is yours. It has always been yours. I am leaving now, but I am not going anywhere. I am in the wind. I am in the rain. I am in the silence of your heart. Whenever you laugh, I am there. Whenever you meditate, I am there. Whenever you are yourself, I am there. Goodbye for now, but not forever. There is no such thing as forever in the world of the body, but there is no such thing as goodbye in the world of the soul. We are one. We have always been one. We will always be one. So here we are, at the final threshold of our journey. We have travelled through the dusty roads of Kuchwada, the silent halls of Pune, and the red hills of Oregon. We have looked at the cars, the diamonds, the labels, and the lies. And still the question remains in your mind, doesn't it? Osho, tell us once and for all, are you a master or are you a fraud? My beloveds, if you have listened to me with your heart and not just your head, you already know the answer. I have been playing a game with you. A master is always a bit of a trickster. He has to be, because he is trying to give you something that cannot be given. He is trying to show you something that cannot be seen. He is trying to describe something that is beyond all words. If I were just a correct spiritual teacher, I would have bored you to death. I would have been just another dusty statue in a temple. But I chose to be a living, laughing, controversial mystery. If you have found a spark of truth in this mystery, if these words have shaken your foundations and made you look at life with new eyes, then I invite you to join this circle of rebels. Hit that subscribe button and become part of this global awakening. This is not about building a church. It is about building a bridge to the future. And if this video has touched your soul, give it a like. It is a small gesture, but it helps the algorithm of the world realize that there is a hunger for something deeper than the usual noise. People say I am a con man. I have already admitted it. I am the greatest con man in history because I have conned thousands of people into giving up their misery. I have conned them into dropping their guilt. I have conned them into falling in love with themselves. And for those who want to support this grand con, for those who want to help us reach every corner of this suffering planet, I invite you to click the join button. By becoming a member, you are not just a viewer, you are a participant in this religionless religion. You are helping us keep this fire burning without any compromise. And if you feel a surge of super thanks in your heart for the insights we have shared, know that every gift is a seed planted in the garden of the new man. They call me the Rolls-Royce Guru to shame me, but I used it to shame them. I wanted to show that the human spirit is so vast that it can contain everything, from the silence of the Himalayas to the luxury of a fine car. Why be a fragment? Why be a part? The old man was a fragment. He was either a saint or a sinner. I am neither. I am a wholeness. And this wholeness is what I call Zorba the Buddha. In the books we have written, in the e-books you can find in the description of this video, I have laid out the map for this new way of being. I urge you to buy our e-books and study them. Don't just read them, eat them. Let them become part of your blood and your bones. They are not theories, they are experiments. They are the tools you need to build your own inner palace. When you buy these e-books, you are not just acquiring information. You are investing in your own transformation and helping us continue this work. Let us return to the story of the blind man and the lame man in the burning forest. Remember, the forest is on fire. This forest is our world, our politics, our economies, our poisoned environment, our dead religions. It is all burning. The blind man, the zorba, the man of action and energy, is running around in circles, potentially running deeper into the flames. The lame man, the Buddha, the man of vision and silence, can see the exit, but he cannot move. The miracle happened when they joined forces. When the blind man took the lame man on his shoulders, they became a whole. They walked out of the fire. This is the synthesis I have been talking about for 40 years. If the West, the zorba, and the East, the Buddha, do not meet within you, there is no hope for humanity. You must be the one who carries the vision of the sky, while your feet are firmly planted on the earth. You must be the one who can celebrate the beauty of the material world, while remaining centered in the silence of the soul. The fraud you see in me is simply your own fear of this wholeness. You are afraid to be free. You are afraid to be happy without a reason. You are afraid to let go of the control that your ego provides. But I tell you that control is an illusion. You are not in control of your birth. You are not in control of your breath, and you will not be in control of your death. The only thing you can be is a witness. And the moment you become a witness, the con is over. The master is over. Only the truth remains. I have been called a dangerous fraud. Yes, I am dangerous. I am dangerous to your boredom. I am dangerous to your hypocrisy. I am dangerous to your slavery. I am the most dangerous man on earth because I am telling you that you don't need anyone to lead you. I am telling you that you are already divine. This is the ultimate fraud according to the priests. Because if you are divine, what will happen to their business? If you are blissful, who will go to their confessionals? If you are at home in the universe, who will fight their wars? This video is a call to rebellion. Not a rebellion of blood and steel, but a rebellion of consciousness and laughter. Share this video with those you love and even with those you don't. Let the fragrance spread. Comment below and tell me, what did you see in the mirror today? Did you see the fraud or did you see the potential? I want to hear your voice, because your voice is the sound of the new man waking up. Remember, my time in the body was short, but my presence is eternal. The 93 Rolls Royces were just a passing show. The Oregon desert was just a temporary playground. But the message of Zorba the Buddha is the only future we have. Don't let it die with me, let it live in you. Let it live in your dance, in your love, and in your silence. I am not your savior, I am your friend. I am a fellow traveler who has reached a little bit earlier and is now calling out to you from the peak. The path is steep, and there are many who will try to pull you back. They will call you names, they will call me names. Let them. Their words are just wind. Your reality is the only thing that matters. As you move forward from this video, don't carry me as a burden. Carry the silence I have shared with you. Use the techniques, do the meditations, read the e-books, and stay connected with this community through the join button and the subscriptions. We are a family of the spirit, a caravan of seekers moving toward the sunrise. The blind man and the lame man are now walking together. They are no longer two, they are one. They are singing as they leave the fire behind. Can you hear their song? It is the song of life celebrating itself. It is the song of the new man. The question, master or fraud, has dissolved. In the heat of the fire and the light of the vision, only the dance remains, and the dance is enough. To be alive is enough. To be aware is everything. I leave you with my love and my laughter. Don't be serious. Serious people are already in their graves. Be playful, be joyful, be a zorba and be a Buddha. And most of all, be yourself. There is no one like you in the whole history of the universe, and there will never be anyone like you again. That is the greatest miracle of all. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for looking into the mirror. I will see you in the silence. I will see you in the laughter. I will see you in the morning sun. Goodbye, my beloveds. The journey has just begun.